Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are really getting into something quite deep, quite personal. We're looking at how past trauma, especially that psychocognitive, emotional stuff from childhood, well, how it doesn't just stay in the past.
That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems to actively shape our present, our health, even just how much energy we have day to day.
Right. We tend to think time works neatly. You live something, you process it, maybe remember it. Eventually it's archived, filed away.
Like putting it in a box on a high shelf.
Exactly. But what the research, the sources we looked at show
Yeah.
is that a major trauma, particularly when your brain's still developing, it does the opposite. It gets kind of perpetually stuck.
Stuck. How so?
Well, the term used is encapsulated within hyperactive neural networks. So instead of archiving it quietly,
Mm.
it stays active, constantly running almost. It
Mm.
forces you into this painful present that just keeps going indefinitely.
Wow. Okay, so it's not filed away. It's like malware running in the background, hijacking the system's resources.
That's a good analogy. It's constantly demanding attention, constantly keeping those old circuits firing.
That really changes how we need to think about healing then. So let's talk about the sort of mission statement from our sources here. There's bad news, but also some good news, right?
Yeah, the tough part first. You can't just erase suffering. It can't be surgically removed or chemically wiped from the brain. It happened. It's part of your story. It left a mark.
Okay, that's the hard truth.
But, and this is crucial, the good news is we can change how we relate to it now, how we perceive it, how we process that past event in our present lives. And we can do that using specific habits, specific targeted approaches.
So the event is fixed, but our response to it isn't. And this stuck state, this
Yeah.
non-linear processing you mentioned, it's not just mental gymnastics. The sources are clear. It's physically draining us.
Oh, absolutely. Draining essential energy, cellular energy, every single day. That's the real cost of this internal neurological conflict.
Like a hidden tax on our energy.
Or the cost of a war the body thinks it's still fighting.
Which leads us perfectly into the anatomy of this energy loss. The sources talk about something called daily re-victimization. What does that mean?
It means that the person keeps sort of reactivating the trauma daily by blaming the past event or blaming the person who caused it, even if that person isn't around anymore.
So holding on to that anger, that blame, it keeps the wound fresh.
Exactly. It's not just a memory then, is it? It becomes an active daily energy drain because that blame, that focus, it keeps the brain's alert system switched on high alert all the time.
Okay, so neurologically, what's happening? Why does that feeling of danger seem to win out over logic so often?
Well, it's because of a kind of structural conflict, almost a short circuit in the brain. You've got the prefrontal cortex, right?
Yeah.
Your CEO, the part that reasons, plans, understands context.
A logical part.
Yes. And it's trying its best. It's sending messages saying, look, this pain, this suffering, it was real, it marked you, definitely. But right now, in this moment, there's no actual physical threat.
But it doesn't feel that way to the rest of the system.
Precisely. Because the other structures, the more primal ones, they stay hyperactive. We're talking the limbic system, your emotional core, the hippocampus, involved in memory context, and crucially, the amygdala.
The smoke detector, the threat alert system.
That's the one. And it's basically screaming danger constantly. And when the amygdala fires like that, especially from deep trauma, it can kind of bypass the CEO, the prefrontal cortex. Survival first, think later.
So the CEO is constantly arguing with this blaring fire alarm. What's the cost of that constant argument inside the head?
A massive, ongoing, perpetual drain of mitochondrial energy, cellular energy. Because those survival responses, fight, flight, freeze, they need immediate high-power fuel.
Right, emergency power.
Exactly. And if the body thinks it's perpetually in an emergency, even if the threat is just a memory, a ghost, it diverts all that premium fuel, that mitochondrial energy, away from normal operations, like repair, digestion, clear thinking.
So we're burning our best fuel, fighting a ghost. And that lack of fuel isn't just in the brain, it affects the whole body.
Spot on. That brain short circuit, it sends ripples everywhere. It
Yeah.
gets transferred down to the cells throughout the entire body. And that's where you start seeing these really persistent physical symptoms that often baffle standard medicine.
Okay, let's talk about those physical symptoms, because what hits people first often is the physical side. Things like just overwhelming fatigue.
Oh, extreme fatigue. Not just tired, but bone-deep exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. And the sleep itself is terrible.
Yeah, people report falling asleep okay, maybe, but then waking up constantly 4 or 5 times a night.
Every couple hours, yeah. And finding it really hard to get back to sleep. Because the body fundamentally refuses to be vulnerable. It won't fully rest.
Why? Because the original trauma wired it for danger.
Especially if the trauma came from someone who should have been safe, like a parent. That activates the sympathetic nervous system, the on switch, the fight or flight
Yeah.
system, and it just gets stuck in the on position.
Always vigilant. Always expecting something bad to happen.
You relax, you might get hurt again. That's the underlying message. It leads to this constant hypervigilance.
The sources use a really powerful image for this, the syndrome of the knife under the pillow.
Yes, it captures that feeling perfectly, doesn't it? You're trying to sleep, but you're still somehow armed, ready. The body just cannot allow itself to go into those deep, restorative repair cycles of sleep.
And that state of constant alert. It must mess with other systems too. Things not needed for immediate fighting or fleeing.
Absolutely. Digestion is a huge one.
Right, the gut-brain connection.
Think about an animal being chased. A gazelle running from a lion isn't stopping to digest its lunch, is it?
No, definitely not.
Survival mode shuts down non-essentials. It's the same for humans under this kind of chronic internal threat. So you see major digestive problems, chronic constipation, or the opposite, chronic diarrhea, irritable bowel syndrome, that feeling of just being permanently bloated.
Because the body literally can't focus energy on absorbing nutrients or proper digestion.
Exactly. And other things too, like libido. Reproduction isn't a priority when you feel like you're constantly under attack.
So if this starts in childhood, this alert system can be stuck on for decades.
Decades, 40, 50 years sometimes.
Mhm.
And that decades-long energy drain, the lack of resources for basic maintenance, that's what leads to the really major systemic health problems down the line. It goes way beyond just feeling tired.
So what are some of those long-term consequences our sources pointed to, beyond the fatigue and gut issues?
Well, the lack of energy for cellular repair leads to things like persistent body aches, joint pain. Pain that doesn't make sense physiologically because normal pain signals damage. Then it should heal, right? It should end.
But here it doesn't, because the body doesn't have the resources to heal.
Precisely. The repair budget is empty. You also see problems with weight regulation, overweight, obesity, and even specific neuropsychological conditions like fibromyalgia.
Ah, fibromyalgia. That's the one with chronic widespread pain, but also that intense fatigue, the brain fog, sometimes vision issues, ringing in the ears.
Yes. It's like the body is finally just running on empty, completely depleted of the resources needed for basic function and repair. It often gets summed up with that saying, the body speaks what the mind silences.
But you find that phrase a bit simplistic.
I do. I mean, it sounds profound, but it misses the core mechanism, I think. The body isn't just speaking. It's failing due to a fundamental material shortage of energy.
Okay.
If you spend 40, 50 years with your brain constantly churning over a past problem, you are literally draining the mitochondrial energy needed to repair everything, your neurons, the lining, your gut, your liver, joints, skin. It's fundamentally a question of resource allocation. Energy bankruptcy almost.
That makes sense. It's a physical resource problem. And that constant drain, that hypervigilance, it doesn't just stay internal, does it? It must show up in how people behave, how they relate to others.
Oh, absolutely, especially in relationships. That hypervigilance, that expectation of threat. It often leads people to unconsciously replicate the very dynamics they experienced in childhood.
How so? Like complaining about a controlling parent but choosing a controlling partner.
Exactly that. It's like this unconscious drive to maybe fix the original situation or gain control this time. But it just repeats the pattern and drains even more energy.
Or the opposite happens too, right? They try so hard not to repeat the pattern that they overcorrect.
Yes. They seek the absolute opposite type of person. But the choice is still driven by avoidance of the trauma, not by seeking genuine health or compatibility. So they end up misaligned anyway.
Because the trauma is still secretly running the show?
It is. And all that mental effort, the constant analysis, the anticipating threats, the trying to avoid triggers, it leads to anxiety, pessimism, maybe eventually just collapsing into depression. The inner monologue is always kind of, okay, things are okay now, but something bad is definitely coming. I need to be ready.
Exhausting. So if the root problem is this massive energy leak preventing repair, we can't just jump to sorting out the thoughts and feelings. We need to fix the energy crisis first.
That has to be the primary goal, yes.
Yeah.
Stop the tissues from degrading further. Restore energy to the body first. Get the fuel tanks refilled. Then you can work on coherence. You need energy to even do the psychological work effectively.
So energy first. And when we say energy, we're talking specifically about the mitochondria, the cell's power plants.
That's the focus, yes. powering up those cellular engines.
Okay, let's dive into the specifics then. What strategies did the sources recommend for boosting that mitochondrial power and helping the system's repair?
All right, so for direct mitochondrial support, three key things came up. First, coenzyme Q10 or CoQ10 is essential for ATP production. That's our main cellular energy currency.
Okay, standard energy support.
Then something called PQQ, pyrroloquinoline quinone. What's really interesting about PQQ is it seems to encourage the growth of new mitochondria, mitochondrial biogenesis.
Wow, so not just tuning up the old engines, but building entirely new ones?
That's the idea, yes, more power plants. And the third one, maybe a bit more cutting edge or controversial, is methylene blue. It's suggested to improve the efficiency of the electron transport chain within the mitochondria, basically acting like a turbocharger for energy production.
Interesting. Okay, so that's direct energy. What about dealing with the accumulated stress and waste? The liver's crucial there, right?
Absolutely. The liver is the master detoxifier.
Um,
To support it, especially after potentially decades of stress, we look at precursors for the body's main antioxidant, glutathione, often liposomal glutathione for better absorption, or its building block, NACC, N-acetylcysteine. Helping the liver clear out the gunk is key for overall repair.
Makes sense. And inflammation. The body's been on red alert, so inflammation must be high.
Chronic low-grade inflammation is almost guaranteed, so modulating that is vital. That's where high-quality omega-3 fatty acids come in, specifically EPA and DHA. They help calm those inflammatory pathways, protecting the brain, joints, everything really.
And the stress hormone itself, cortisol. It's been running high constantly.
Yes, managing cortisol is critical because that sympathetic overdrive keeps pumping it out. The sources suggest using adaptogens. For daytime, something like rhodiola can help the body adapt to stress without making you sleepy.
Okay.
Then for nighttime, to help calm things down, push cortisol lower, and support rest, ashwagandha is often recommended. And alongside that, melatonin. Not just for sleep rhythm, but it's also a powerful antioxidant itself, helping with that nighttime repair process.
Right. And the gut, we talked about the digestive shutdown. How do we repair that physical damage, create a coherent intestine, as the source put it?
Yeah, the gut lining, the mucosa, takes a beating. So L-glutamine is key here. It's like the primary fuel and building block for the cells lining the gut, helps seal up those leaky barriers.
Tightening the junctions.
Exactly. And if there's specific stomach lining irritation like gastritis from all the stress and cortisol, the combination of zinc plus L-carnosine can be very protective and healing for the gastric mucosa. Helps avoid relying on antacids long-term too.
That's a really comprehensive physical support plan. But the sources were really clear, weren't they? Supplements aren't a magic bullet on their own.
Not at all. They're crucial supports, tools to help rebuild. But they only really work effectively if they're combined with the foundational work. That means conscious, healthy eating, obviously, but also mind-body practices, things like meditation, breathing exercises.
The work to actually calm the nervous system down.
Yes. The core effort has to be learning, consciously, to inhabit the present moment, to actively notice and dial down that perception of danger that's leaking in from the past. You have to teach the amygdala that the war is actually over.
That realization, really feeling that the past event, however awful, isn't physically happening now, that seems to be the master switch.
It is. That's what turns off the alarm bell. It stops the energy hemorrhage, reduces that constant tension in the brain, and finally gives the body the bandwidth, the resources to repair itself properly. Cellular repair, digestive repair, everything.
The goal then is simple, but not easy. Use today's energy for today's life, for healing and building, not fighting yesterday's battles.
Beautifully put. Dedicate the energy to the present.
Which brings us to that final, maybe challenging thought from the source material you mentioned. This state, this unregulated trauma response, it makes people irascible, irritable, easily angered.
Yes. And there's often a tendency to maybe unconsciously use the past trauma as a kind of justification for present-day reactions.
Yeah.
Which leads to the point about personal accountability.
Yeah.
We need to ask ourselves, when someone cuts you off in traffic and you explode with this rage that feels way out of proportion, why? Why that intense reaction that just drains more of your precious energy?
Because it's not really about the traffic incident.
Exactly. That driver has absolutely nothing to do with whatever happened in your childhood.
Yeah.
The final, really advanced step in regulation is catching ourselves in that moment, recognizing when we're about to dump that old, stored-up pain and anger onto someone completely innocent in the present, and learning consciously to modulate that response.
To contain it.
So the ultimate goal isn't just self-healing, but also stopping the cycle of projecting that past pain outwards. using our energy to ensure the past doesn't keep creating new wounds for ourselves or others right now.
That's the journey towards real coherence, I think.
Well, hopefully this deep dive has given you, our listener, some valuable context, maybe some practical tools to start that really vital work of restoring your energy. Thank you for joining us.